Okay.
Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. This evening, we're going to preview the Alabama LSU SEC game of the week. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And joining me today to break down, let me get it right this evening, the number one team in the country, the University of Alabama. My co-host this evening, I consider him the best high school coach in the state of Georgia. He knows all about defense. He's Alabama's number one fan. He made me understand that from day one when I met him. He's smiling with his handsome face, as you see him with his lovely Alabama hat on this evening. Roll Tide, my man, Kevin the Bull Jones, out of Redan High School by way of Norfolk State. Welcome, as we're going to talk about Alabama and LSU this evening. How you doing, man?
My man, Vincent Turner, the man, the myth, the legend. How you doing today?
Hey, man, before we get started this evening, I want to say this to our audience out there. I came out and watched Coach on Friday evening, and I was very impressed with your football team. Had an opportunity to meet your family, beautiful wife. I was like a kid in the cookie jar. When you're around good people, man, that energy is special. Love everywhere. Look at him. He's smiling now. And I met Coach, and I'm going to tell y'all something. I met Coach's son, who's 12 years old. And I'm going to tell you, very impressed for kid. Very smart, well-spoken, baseball star. Coach might have a superstar in the making. But I'd like to say thank you, man, for letting me come out and enjoy our game on Friday night, even though it didn't end up, but it was one of the best evenings I've had in 2020. And I want to thank you this evening.
Well, definitely, V. What was really special for me is this was the first time, of course, in the city of Atlanta, we're not right now, we're not allowing fans to come to the games. And I understand that under our wonderful new superintendent here in the city of Atlanta Public Schools. So I definitely respect the protection she has for us.
Amen.
So it was a chance to go on the road and play for the very first time. And actually, we had to go into Fulton County and play a tremendous Westlake Lions high school team that has 12 Division I players on it.
Yes, sir. Very impressive football team.
And it was the first time that my players got a chance to actually. I'll tell you the part that got me is my watching the players react to watching when the band came in. You know, we've been playing in a secluded situation the whole season, and it was invigorating to watch the liveliness of football. Although playing in the city of Atlanta under the Atlanta skyline is so magnificent, it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever been a part of as a high school coach in the Metro Atlanta area. But our kids getting a chance to be around fans was it probably shocked them a little bit. And of course, when you play a team that we play that has 12 kids that are already committed to Power 5 schools, it was a tremendous task on hand. We fought well, but that was a very good football team we faced. And one thing I learned from Coach Saban is you never lose. You just learn. You either win or you learn.
Well, let's get to talk about your team, the number one team in the country, man. They had a bye week last week. I could say this. Alabama's defense over the last couple of weeks seemed like it's rounding into form. Tell us right quick before we talk about them taking on LSU, what has been the big change with them defensively?
Well, listen, here's the thing. You got a lot of freshman players out there. You got Will Anderson. You got Trey Sanders that's getting a spell. You also got Malachi Moore in there, who right now is tied with Daniel Wright for the lead in interceptions. You got the kids are just learning how to mature in the system. Here's the elephant in the room, quote unquote. Nobody had when they only had a 4.5 weeks to get ready for a season. No spring, no work in the summer where they could just get together and throw the ball around. And likewise for everybody went through that. But when you're playing so many freshmen, now keep in mind, sports fans, this is what makes us special at Alabama, is those freshmen took the starting spots from some upperclassmen, or should I say, projected starters from upperclassmen. So what does that tell you about the type of kid they're getting in there? Everybody want to talk about 5-star, 4-star. Listen, that's all we have at Alabama down in Tuscaloosa. But those kids stood the test of time, even in a rigid schedule. So when everybody was worried about Pete Golden, listen, Pete Golden's just doing his job, and running one of the best programs in the nation, of course. Everybody wants to throw the darts. But guess what? Now we had a shutout against Mississippi State. Where is everybody now fussing about the defense? There was no problem. Once I mentioned earlier to you, we played a magnificent Lane Kiffin, offensive-minded guy who coached against Bama defense in practice every day, who's been around Coach Saban. So listen, the justice prevails and normalcy is coming back to life, because the defense now is one of the top in the nation on third down efficiency. Excuse me, number 2 in the nation. Let me just go ahead and say number 2 in the nation. As far as third downs on, their teams are only making 57% of their third down conversions against Crimson Tide. So what does that tell you? There's a maturity, there's a lifeline of some work that's going on now. And guess what, Vincent? We still only have 9 sacks on the season. So what does that tell you if we have only 9 sacks? I'm going to tell you what that tells you. One of my favorite players from my old high school, Dutchtown High School, Will Anderson, is leading the SEC in quarterback pressures. Now, what does that mean? Sports fans, you know what it means. Quarterback drops back to pass. He's looking for somewhere to throw the ball, and he feels that heat on the back of his neck, and he has to get rid of the ball quicker than he anticipated. That's what Will Anderson, the true freshman, the next coming of one of the best players to ever go through Tuscaloosa, Derek Thomas. He is living up, even though he doesn't have the sacks yet. He's got the pressures. The pressures mean everything. So in the big picture, I'm not going to say we're where we should be, but the process of the locomotive train moving is getting there. Right now, we're in the top 10 in the nation in allowing points allowed in the season, an average of 22. And when it's all said and done, we have to even get better at that. So with us not having any sacks, well, we only got 9. We don't even have enough for 2 hands yet. I mean, we didn't go past that yet. We still on, we still under 10. And we're doing this well. The maturity level, the reality of knowing what to do. Let's keep it quite frank, Vincent. When it's all said and done this season, by the time you get into a motor flow, that's what we call it in coaching, meaning everything comes natural to you. Your reads, your looks, your eye discipline, all that stuff comes natural. And it took some time for it to rile up. Of course, we're playing at SEC. Okay, so I think that we're fine. I think that
I have another
LSU, if we get to play the game, we'll show them that, we gave them one last year. That's it.
I got a couple of more questions for you this evening. Can I ask you a couple of more questions? Because I know you're excited. Yeah. I'm going to say it every time this evening, probably about 4 or 5 times. Alabama, the number 1 team in the country right now in college football.
Right.
Seriously, did you think coming into the year, real honest question, that Mac Jones will be probably up there being one of the top 3 players in the country? And right now, the way that he's played at the quarterback position, it's only 2 other players that I can really put in this category. That's Justin Fields at Ohio State, and that's Kyle Trask at Florida. I think Mac Jones has played at a level better than Tua was at this time this last year. What's your observations of him being so good in this system?
Well, here a couple of factors go into play. The wear and tear on the body from injuries and things of that nature. He's not in that predicament right now. Tua went through multiple surgeries during his time playing down at Tuscaloosa. So he caught some shots that Mac Jones has not caught, hasn't been privy to catching, should I say. So, but when you are in the room with the greatness and the precision of what's going on in the offensive scheme, and then turn around and go from an RPO system to a straight drop back system where you're airing it out and going deep. When have a chance to cater to the strong points of a player. We're talking about kids that come in there and they're the top kids in the nation at their position. And yes, Clemson has a few big ones. Ohio State has them, but we have the advantage of having Steve Sarkisian, one of the best offensive coordinators in the game right now, the number one offense in the nation, scoring offense, 47 points a game, and we're able to have a plethora of running backs to be able to coexist in that offensive scheme. And we've actually metamorphosized into the old Bama with the ground and pound, multiple backs, instead of the RPO, which was truly catered to Tua's ability. And now you see him on the next level, like I told you, got that W against Arizona Cardinals. Poor Kyler Murray, I know he was dejected, but he had to face Tua. But that's a whole nother story. I'll come back to that later. But here's the thing about the offensive room. You have an ability to cater to people's strengths. And I think that's one thing that Coach Saban does well.
Okay. Moving on. Over the years, Alabama's produced some great receivers, from Julio Jones to Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs. But, man, what would you put this young man, Devonta Smith? Jalen Waddle got hurt, 3 weeks ago? This guy is performing at a level that I haven't seen in my lifetime since I was about 23, 24 years old. You know who I'm finna bring up? The young man out of Ena Bena, Mississippi, Crawford, down in the Delta, not far from where my mother was born in Sunflower, Jerry Rice.
Yes.
And what I'm saying, Bull, is that Alabama, what I've been impressed offensively, when Waddle went down, is how they able to move him around and still get him the football. And the guy's produced at a level. Right quick, I think he should have some Heisman votes. I consider him one of the top 5 players in the game. And it's been enjoyable to watch him play, man. Explain to us what has been so good about him this year. And obviously, when he was without them receivers last year, when they had Jeudy, they had Ruggs, clearly I had him like 3rd or 4th. But watching him this year, even when Waddle went down,
right,
man, he's been special. And just tell the audience what makes him special in this Alabama offense, but how do you think he's going to be on the next level?
Watch this. I'm going to shock everybody that's paying attention, listeners, to us tonight. When he caught that touchdown pass against you-know-who in the national championship game, there started his legacy of successes. I remember being down there and getting a chance to meet him one time and actually just bumping into those people. We were coming out of all the high school coaches were coming out of a clinic, and he was coming out of the weight room and just walking by. And I heard him joking with some of his teammates. Some of those guys were 1st-round draft picks last year in the draft at his position. And I remember him telling everybody he's Teflon Don. Now, what does that mean? That means he is going to be tough. And he did not have a problem with Ruggs and Jeudy getting all the shine as far as the accolades. But through all of that, if you look at his totals every year as a receiver at Alabama, he's always led the team in receptions. So what does that tell you? He understood his role. And I think that is the most impressive thing that Coach Saban does with those players. They have an accountability level that is second to none, that, hey, I don't want to let you down. So I'm going to be the alpha male on this play. Okay, you're getting double covered. I'm going to be the alpha male. I'm going to be the next guy to step up. That's very hard to find with college kids, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, when everybody wants to get the ball and be the man. He succumbed to saying, listen, you guys are upperclassmen. Yes, I scored that touchdown against Georgia to win the national championship. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. It just slipped out. But
yeah, you throwing shots on Georgia this evening. It's a
no,
bad,
I'm not.
based on what happened this past weekend. I mean, you from the state of Georgia. You better watch your house, man. I mean, this ain't a good time to be talking about the dogs.
My tax dollars still go to Georgia. We love Kirby Smart, and hopefully they'll get their quarterback situation.
It's time to be talking about them dogs right now. They got problems over there in Athens.
But here's the deal. When you have a collection of kids that say, forget about our egos and let's be the best, iron sharpens iron. Now, I don't remember who came up with that slogan, but I use it. And here's the thing. Iron sharpens iron means when you have defensive backs such as Patrick Surtain and Micah Fitzpatrick and all these guys and their first round draft picks, and you go against them in practice. And yes, Jared Judy put on a clinic yesterday against the Falcons with all those magnificent routes. He's the best route runner that has come into the league in several years. But guess what? There was a pilgrimage to get to that point because you had the Amari Coopers, you had the Calvin Ridleys, you had the Julio Joneses. So every receiver that comes into Tuscaloosa wants to be the guy that gets up to that level. They want to sit in that same room with him. And that's the special part about Devonta Freeman, because he runs. You never hear about the great routes he runs. You never hear about the sure hands he has. All you hear about is all the touchdowns that he scores. So what does that tell you on the next level? And he'll be there as well. He'll be one of those guys that can fit into any pro system as well as RPO system, and he'll still be successful.
Okay, let's talk about the other team, the LSU Tigers. My question this evening, LSU is 2-3 on the year. Obviously, it's seemingly that they might have some quarterback problems, but not as severe as the team you just mentioned a couple of seconds ago. But what I don't understand.
What team was that? No, I'm just kidding.
But the team in Athens. Let's say the team in Athens. Remember, you. I'm not going to say where you live at, but remember, we're still in the state of Georgia. But what I don't understand with LSU this year, and you're a defensive-minded coach, we'll talk numerous hours late at night. I picked your brain about a lot about defensively. I don't understand how LSU, what I think is a quality coach, Bo Pelini, how can you go from a national championship season, and I know they lost a lot of players that declared for the NFL draft after their great run last year. But we're talking about LSU allegedly that are still recruiting 4- and 5-star athletes on both sides of the ball. Man, explain to me, how can their defense be so horrible this season when, and I understand the pandemic, but how does that happen? I mean, what is the problems down there? I mean, you got Derek Stingley, the second, who was coming into the preseason, was considered one of the top 3 players in the country.
Right.
And you got kids that you recruited that supposed to be 4- or 5-star players. How is LSU struggling so mightily on defense? I don't understand that. Explain that to me.
Well, here's what happens on the defensive side of the ball. When you're a defensive player, you are taught to have several things. One is eye discipline. 2 is tenacity and the ability to move and react without having to think. It should become second nature for you when you have your key reads. If you're playing inside linebacker, you have your reads, and those reads determine where you're going to be as fast as you can be. The only people that know where the football is going is the offense or the offensive players. But for defense, it is all about how fast can you get from point A to point B and anticipate what you think according to your film study, where the ball is going, who's going to get the ball according to personnel and down and distance, things of that nature. Here's where the problem occurs. In the defense that LSU had last season, when the dialogue and the language changes, if I am a 3-year player there, and I've been there 3 years, and I played in a national championship game as a junior or a redshirt sophomore, then all of a sudden you're bringing a new defensive coordinator, and he has a different dialogue. Okay, it can go from calling if you're slanting to the left, you call it. It can go from being called lucky to now it's called Lucy, or now it's called the state. Okay, what if it's called a state now instead of or a color or a cat or an animal? Those things, those kids have to really absorb. And when you're absorbing, and then you don't have everything during the summer because of the pandemic situation, you have to learn the defense. It takes you a little longer. So the thing that hurt LSU the most is they had some good players that were not starting yet, and we're going to help the team this year, but they all played in a different system. So now it takes time to learn. Okay, you go from being a true, a man-free team to now you're playing outside leverage on deep routes, to now you don't do that anymore because Dave Aranda's gone. So you don't play outside leverage. So now all of a sudden you play inside leverage. Okay, so now things have changed. So now funneling everything to the safeties, now that safety might have to be a different type of player or the corner. So now Darryl Stingley doesn't get the chance to do all the stuff that he did so well last year, even though his athleticism will prevail. Vincent, it takes too long. And everybody when you're the big dog on the block because you won the national championship, everybody wants a shot at it.
Okay.
So nobody has any mercy for LSU. And yes, Bo Pelini is a very good defense coordinator, but it's going to take time for those veteran players to learn that system. And no mercy. You don't have any boo-boo games, or I call charity games. You don't have playing a division, FCS school for a warm-up tune-up game. You got to face the big dogs now, and that's what LSU is going through.
Okay, looking overall right now, I'm going to pick your brain on several questions. After watching football this season right now, who would you consider be the best player in the country? Well, now let me say this. The Heisman, you have 3 players that comes to New York, correct?
Correct.
Who would be your 3 players that come to New York right now as of today?
One would be Mac Jones, of course. The other would be Trevor Lawrence. And the third would probably end up being Justin Fields. I mean, listen, this is a Georgia boy. Matter of fact, of the 3 I mentioned, the two of them are from Georgia. Hint, hint. They are. I mean, listen, these kids can play. Shout out to Ron Veal, who was a great quarterback guru coach, who such a pleasant person, a warm-spirited guy, never wants to get to shine for anything. A true man of God, and just enjoys working with kids and developing kids. He doesn't get all the claim that some folks get out west and things about being a quarterback guru. But this man took those kids and he developed them into what they are today. And he's worked with others that have come through the pipeline of Georgia. So hats off. And along with him, there are a lot of other coaches around Metro Atlanta area and Georgia as well that do a great job. But I would say those 3 players are the top players right now. And remember what I said, Vincent, at the beginning of the season. I said, how do you determine who's going to win the national championship? It's going to be a situation where it depends on play of veteran quarterbacks, people that have had experience.
Right now, another question. I'm going to pick your man. We got about 6 minutes left. Is Notre Dame for real?
Whoo! Yes, sir. And listen, I take nothing away from Clemson playing without their true leader, the big dog out there, Trevor Lawrence, because the backup kid they had out there did a phenomenal job. Very impressed with him. But you're talking about a team that returned 9 starters on defense. Plus, once again, you got the gunslinger, Ian Brooks. Hey, he is magical in himself, but Notre Dame is tired of not getting their just due respect.
Hey, Bull, right quick. Where you project that young man on the next level? Is he an NFL quarterback book?
I think he is, but now there's got to be a certain type of system that he needs to go into, and I think that's very important. If it's not that I don't think he can handle the high octane stuff that's going on in the league, and what Burrow is a part of in Cincinnati. But what I'm really trying to say is he has a toughness to him that allows him, if he's fitted with some very good veteran players around him, he's going to be very successful. Do I think he'll get a chance to start immediately? Probably not, unless there's an injury. But he has a toughness to him that he's seen a lot of good football and played a lot of good teams. Likewise with Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence.
Another question. Boy, I love this. I'm going to tell y'all, when I met this young man about 6 months ago, before we move on, he was coming up to our place where we were shooting at. He was looking at me, and I said his life was going to change. And he looked at me like he was crazy. But I could tell you this, it's enjoyable to be around him. And before we move on, the story, this guy, Coach Jones, was a very successful coach at Mount Zion. I actually heard him on somebody else's show, and I came away impressed, as y'all see, with his knowledge and them pipes he has. But his defensive coordinator played at Tennessee State. And he started with another guy, Primus Bobo. If anybody watching from the 901 and know what I'm talking about. So Coach Jones went and did his homework. And I know he said this joker here really know what he's talking about. He never told me, but he came away impressed with me. So, hey, man, this guy's got a lot of talent. And hopefully we're going to be on the run till we die because I love talking football with him. But getting back, I didn't want to get on that rant right quick. Bull, John Harbaugh.
Yes.
Why has he not been successful at Michigan?
Whoo. Okay, here I'm about to get the butter from the duck from you. I'm gonna give it to you. Straight, no chaser. Okay. Listen, if there is a theme that I think that his players did not embrace, because Harbaugh is a very tough player. And everybody that remembers him playing back, NFL career, Michigan career, he's a tough player. I don't believe that the kids that he is recruiting to come there fit really what he wants. But because he's John Harbaugh and he wants to be a national, Michigan has to be a program that recruits nationally. He has to go out and find kids that maybe don't fit what he's all about, but they are the big name kids, and he is a big name coach. So he's able to get those kids, but they don't fit. Everybody doesn't want to run into that Mack truck. Some folks need to stay out on the side and won't you just throw the deep ball to them. So what do I mean by that? He gets some kids that probably would prefer that they got a chance to get the ball thrown to them 40 times a game. And that's the truth. When in fact, he didn't throw it 40 times a game. He was one of those rough and tough, Captain Courageous. That was his nickname. And Michigan has always been tough. They've always had one receiver, and you know this. Aaron Carter, should I name a few? You remember back in the day, they always had one big-time receiver, and everybody else was tough, hard-nosed. That's what they need.
Okay, man, we're going to wrap this down. We got about a minute. I guess my final question is, Alabama, the team I need to put some money on to win it all this year in 2020. Do I need to cash that?
Well, I don't know who else you could even think of, because when it's all said and done, we let somebody have some fun last year, and I told you how that happened. Tua fumbled the ball, and the rest is history. And our season just was never the same. But I think that we're going to be in the championship game. I think we're going to win the national championship, and all will be at peace with college football when Roll Tide Roll holds that trophy up again.
Final words, man, this evening.
Listen, I want to say hats off to all those coaches out there that are coaching and working right now. That's a big deal. Just the joy of being out and having people at a game this past weekend that you got a chance to enjoy with me. I thank you, my brother, for being there with me because this was my first time. I have never been in this situation. Likewise, with all of these coaches all across the nation. Hey, listen, we got families. We love our families. We got kids. You know, it's been rough on everybody. So, hey, next time you see a high school coach or college coach, how about you give them a hug and tell them, hey, we appreciate what you're doing because it's tough.
Well, that being said, excellent show this evening. I couldn't be more blessed. The very talented Kevin the Bull Jones, to your family, thank you. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm assuming me and this young man, we're going to be doing more videos on Alabama's great ride to the national championship. Also, he probably going to talk to me after the show this evening and talk about the Miami Dolphins, about the young man that he's crazy about. I'm just going to put it out there. You do the guessing. His initials are TT, and the Dolphins are 5-3 on the year. But if you like the video today, please come in and share it. As I always end the show, and you know it's coming up, the 901. I'm, a.k.a. the baby boy, and the only son, and I know my father's watching, of Chester and Inez Turner. And we like to say thank you this evening for supporting us here at 100 Yards of Football. And to my man, Mr. Kevin the Bull Jones, and to the Roll Tide Nation. Let's get it on down there in Tuscaloosa. Y'all have a blessed evening.